Hello everyone, and welcome to The Man Behind the Curtain. I'm Randy Young, the guy in the red shoes, and I've been in the video production business my entire career, and it's taken me around the world a few times. But more importantly, I've had the opportunity to work with some of the most creative people in television, and boy do they have stories to tell about the business and the people who make it happen. We've always been told, ignore the man behind the curtain, but you can talk to me. Okay, let's get started. I'm sitting here with Michael Perysain, very good friend, known him for a long time. He is an excellent engineer, I think a computer genius, but he won't admit that. But we'll see what he says. Hi, Michael.
Hi.
How are you today?
Great.
Good. We're sitting poolside outside. Nice evening in Orlando, isn't it nice? Okay. Let me go back with the first question I'd like to ask everybody. How did you get started? Where did it start and why?
Depends on how far back you want to go, but I suppose I was always the kid in elementary school and junior high who ran the projector,
Sure.
right? Just by default. Getting into high school, I was on stage crew. And I guess this was a little bit foreshadowing, but I never would have assumed I'd end up in a role doing what I do. Then it was somewhere at the end of 1999, I was working for a school district in Wilmette, Illinois, doing maintenance work. Mm-hmm. And in that maintenance work, I was also helping to install upgrades in their auditoriums and in the schools and the elementary schools.
Wow.
And I built some things, and I made some old equipment work that had been there for a long time. And I started being asked by faculty to help with their plays, their productions, and so forth. So I obliged, and I was all into it. Turns out the owner, one of the owners of Show Department in Chicago, right. Jeff Fackles, his children went to the school district, and he would come in and assist with their productions. Well, then he saw me and offered me a job. Now, I was busy doing side projects and rehabbing building in Chicago, and I told him no. And then after we spent way too much money on the rehab and didn't get our money out of it, I decided to turn back and see what this was all about.
Sure.
And so I said, hey, is this offer still good? And he said yes. And I started, and my first day I went to a training session for a Barco projection, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anything.
Right.
And then soon after that, I think within 2 months, I was traveling on the road doing audio for them.
Right.
And I ended up doing audio for a couple of years, and then was sort of pushed into video, saying this is where it's at, this is where we want you. And I started video with them, and got to see this sort of evolution happen before my eyes, and I caught the very tail end of slide projection and sort of moved through a lot of the equipment that mainly Barco has produced over the years.
We're going to get to technology in a minute, but I want to explore a bit more. A lot of the people I've talked to, and a lot of our mutual friends, they say that, like you started with high school and AV work and that sort of thing. They had a spark and I don't want to say a calling, but a spark, that a passion that kicked them into it. That sounds like it came a little later for you.
I suppose. I've always been a person who enjoyed solving problems.
Right.
And this was the perfect job to do that, because
God knows we have a lot of them.
You're troubleshooting constantly.
Right.
And then that troubleshooting turns into experience after a while, and that experience is muscle memory that just builds over time.
All right, so let's talk about show department. Then where?
So I worked there from January of 2000 until the end of 2006.
Wow.
For the 2 years leading up to that departure, many people were telling me that I should work on my own. And being that I had only been a W-2 employee my whole life, and going and working on my own was a scary thing.
It's a very scary thing.
And
first time out.
Very, you don't know what to do. But after a while, you start to believe the people if they keep telling you that. So I just decided to leave at the end of 2006. In January of 2007, I started working on my own.
Good.
And it was a beautiful, in video we do crossfades, right? It was a beautiful crossfade because it literally over the entire course of the year from 2007 to 2008, all of my work went from working for one company while continuing to work for them, and then not working for them at all because all of my work was everywhere else.
Right. Well,
and that just is the way that it worked out.
And it takes a special mentality to do that, to work for yourself, and to have that drive and to have that initiative. And then it pays off so well when people recognize that. And I know that they recognized it in your abilities. I mean, look at you today.
I think the best representation of that, I suppose, is the fact that until the pandemic, and I don't even think that pandemic, I didn't really look for work, but ever since I went out on my own, I have never needed to look for work.
It's a nice feeling, isn't it?
So it speaks for itself.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I try to be humble about it, but recognize you have to be aware.
You have to be aware, and you have to have the confidence to be aware and to be able to present yourself properly and to know that you're doing a good job. So let's step back to the end of the slide area. I was in the slide era too, and I never produced on slides, but I certainly saw a lot of people, and the company I worked for did a lot of that and was working to transition out of it. How did you find video? How did you get that knowledge, and what led you to that? It was just an obvious transition?
I was fortunate that the company that I was working for, Show Department, was investing heavily in the new technology as it came out. So started out working with learning all of the digital projection as it was growing, understanding, taking them apart, putting them back together, learning how signal flow worked through switching systems, and seeing those switching systems evolve from composite to component to 4-wire to 5-wire to serial digital to DVI to HDMI.
Well, it's an incredible.
And a lot of that stuff is still working today, and we interface with it occasionally.
Well, and that's the challenge, is to make that interface work with all the different components and the pieces. Was it difficult to learn? I struggled with it. I learned what I could, but I don't have to learn that, In my job, I don't have to know the details.
I love the challenge because they gave me a lot of pieces, and I had to put them together and make it work.
Right.
For instance, when somebody had an idea that they wanted to do this curved screen that serpentine around, and we needed to have a continuous, smooth image going across that required a lot of equipment back then. That required something to create the image, and then you needed something to warp the image, and then you needed, if you had dual projectors on top of one another, you needed to warp the image in both projectors, and so you had to synchronize a lot of pieces of equipment in order to make that work. And so it was satisfying in the end to see it all work.
Let's talk about satisfaction. What is the satisfaction in the job now?
It's always very satisfying to have an event go completely flawlessly from the start to the finish. And that happens occasionally. There are always things to deal with along the way.
All these things that make you catch your breath a little bit.
Yeah. I think having good relationships with people around you is important. I think your road family is, it's a part of your life, and
Sure.
and you really need to try to still keep a balance in that part of your life, because it's not like a 9 to 5 job where you just go to the office and then you're home at the end of the day. You're
Right.
gone for weeks at a time, and you need to take care of yourself and take care of your health and sleep well and eat well and have good interactions with the people around you.
Right. Well, you have a partner who's in the business too.
Yep, my husband Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that interact? How does it work between you? Does it?
Oh well, so this was
Because
engineered.
you brought it up.
This was engineered by us. So Tony has a background in theater. He has
Right.
a degree in theater,
Right.
and he produces, writes, directs, and choreographs all of his productions. And
Sure.
he's done this ever since he was a child. And so that theater degree gave him an inside look into the business already. And after we had been together for a couple of years, as happens in this business, it's a little bit challenging sometimes to maintain relationships well because
Absolutely.
of the constant travel. And there's always this unknowingness of where the other person is, and it always seems like there are these extravagant dinners that everyone is having an amazing time, and there's this sort of FOMO, or fear of missing out, that happens with that.
Right.
Which is not at all the case. We are literally working for 10 to 16 hours a
And
day.
he knows that.
In the dark, but he knew that more after I said, "Hey, why don't you?" He was working an event planning job in the city. He was working for a university, and I said, "Why don't you come and work with me? I can teach you anything you need to know technically."
Sure.
And our clients will hire us together, not knowing for sure that our clients would hire us together. But
Fair enough. Give it a shot.
it was a risk that I was willing to take, because that's what was important. And if it didn't work, then I would leave the business. And
Right.
it was that easy of a
Sure.
decision for me, even though I enjoy what I do. And so I said to him, let's try it. And brought him out, had him operate camera on his first gig ever in Boston. And we had vertical IMAG, 19 by 16.9 vertical IMAG, very skinny, right?
Just throw him into the fire, why don't
He
you?
nailed it.
Really?
He never missed a beat. And we said, how are you able to do this? He's like, oh, this is just like my choreography training. Because I'm able to predict the motions of the people
Sure.
around me. I was able to predict where they were able to go, where they were going, and he was able to maintain his shot. So that was his first day, and then the rest is history, because now all of our clients have hired us together for
Yeah.
a long time.
Well, I remember the first time I worked with him, he was running 3 RoboCams at the same time. And I was constantly pressing buttons and getting shots and say, Tony this, Tony that. They were all there.
Yeah, cool.
That's really cool. All right. We talked about it a bit earlier. When you were struggling with how do you describe yourself? And I like to ask, if you meet somebody riding on a city bus and say, oh, what do you do for a living? Or on an airplane, that happens a lot. How do you explain
I
it?
dumb it down.
Yeah?
I say, I do audio-visual.
And they just buy that.
Yeah, I do AV,
Okay.
audio-visual for live events.
Okay.
Yeah. And I might initially tag it with, I do video engineering for live events. Basically, I do audio-visual. And that seems to ring a bell in everybody's ears. So.
Well, yeah, it does, but I find it difficult to explain sometimes. And I know everybody does. And that's maybe the most succinct answer I've gotten on on the question. Do you consider this job more than a job? Is it a passion for you now? I mean, I know it didn't start that way.
Well, first of all, I have to say that this is a business that no one knows exists before they get into it. Pretty much everybody falls into it, aside from, these Full Sail universities or whatever that have kind of grown up a little bit. Most of us don't come from that
Right.
place. And I went to college for 2 years and decided to leave because it wasn't for me. I didn't feel like being scholarly or doing homework, right? That's what it came down to. And there's nowhere where you would be able to make the money that we make in this business. I don't know what else I would do, quite honestly, if I needed to fall back into something else. Now the money is important because it provides a means to have a good lifestyle,
Certainly.
to be comfortable, to be able to take time off and find that balance in life a bit. So I love the fact that this job affords me the ability to manage my own schedule, not work for a specific person every day of my life, not be handed only a certain number of vacation days, and being able to do what's right for me every time.
Yeah.
Although it is difficult sometimes to say no when people offer work.
Right.
But the opportunity is there to
say no.
say no.
That I get it. It's a rare life, and you're right about people don't know about the business. Maybe some siblings or children of people we know that understand it a little bit. They might come into the business, but I stumbled into it. You know, and I didn't start this way. I never envisioned it. People don't, like you said, people don't know that it exists, and it's a very well hidden secret. So how do we get younger people into it?
How do we get younger people into it? Well, I will have to say, like personally, like one of the things in this business is that your reputation goes far beyond just the work that you do. It also is extended into the people who you recommend to come into this business. So when any of us sees an opportunity or sees somebody that would be good in this business, I think it's important for us to kind of push them a little bit and say, hey, this is a great opportunity. I think you would be great for this.
Yeah.
You have the fear of, well, you have to have a certain fear of messing up, fear of making a mistake, fear of, you have, that kind of keeps you on the right course.
But don't you think this business breeds a little bit of performance anxiety? Anyway, any side of the business, whether it's corporate stuff, sports, broadcasting, even in-shop engineering, there's always some anxiety to make it right. You desire to make it right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to fail at it.
Right.
Let me segue into another. What I like most about doing this is, and we've talked about your history, we get to know you a little bit, talk about the business a little bit, new people coming in, yada yada. Now let's talk about stories. Let's talk about adventures.
Adventures.
Yeah.
Adventures in this business.
Yeah. I mean, we've all had shows that look like they're falling off the rails,
Oh, sure.
coming around the corner and not making it. How do you feel we prove that it can be done?
First of all, it's important to hold people around you accountable, no matter if they are paying you or just working alongside of you. I think it's not wrong to call out clients if they're denying a certain amount of human needs around you, and I find that for me, I hold a lot in, and then it will come out when it needs to come out. I feel like it does come out, and I can turn into a little bit of a different person at that point, and like get things back on the rails. And it may be a little bit of an outburst, and it doesn't happen often, but if it does, It's necessary.
Right.
Okay. And so I feel like I do have a little bit of that ability to make that happen, because when it does occur, it sort of catches people off guard and like, oh, what? Maybe we need to look at this a little bit.
You are, in my opinion, both a creative resource to a show, as well as an engineering whiz influence on a show in terms of setting up, fixing, problem solving. What portion of your job, how does that divide in percentages? What do you feel is creative
It's
energy
50-50.
and engineering?
It's 50-50. I've always believed this of myself. I'm very, very balanced. Like I know, even if I've taken those tests to find out about your brain and which half of your brain,
personality
and so forth,
tests,
it's always 50-50.
Yeah.
Like I believe I was blessed with the ability to have a very active right side of my brain and a very active left side of my brain, and they work very well together.
Right.
And so I think that is because, just think of this, for instance, like think of a very just creative type. They can't do anything technical, not very well, without, dropping their phone all the time or whatever, just small little things like that. And that's heavily weighted to the right side. Then you've got the analytical side that is literally just pen and paper, but they don't have much of the creative side. And I think that I've, knowing myself, I've got a good balance there.
And that's really required in your job, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
When you're controlling the screen looks and timing.
It's listening and seeing the big picture,
Yeah.
and being able to catch things before they happen, because
Okay.
you anticipate.
All right. When you catch things before they happen, how does that feel to you? What's the emotion there?
That I did my job, that I did what I was there to do. Because
It's more than that. It's deeper than that.
If nothing bad happened, then you don't know that it didn't happen, right?
Right.
I might know that it didn't happen, but it's not necessarily a situation that I can put into words at the time, because it would take too many words to describe.
Right.
Because you're working on a combination of muscle memory and listening, and predicting, and so you use all of that together to make decisions on the fly. It doesn't always pan out, but most of the time, I think.
I'm in the camp that I think you're right. It's a 50-50 split. To me, it's more a 70-30 split. I don't need to know as much of the technology. I need to know what it does and how to use it. Mm-hmm. I don't need to know how to wire it and put it together. That's what I have geniuses like you to do. But I do think that the ability to look ahead and to predict what's going to happen, and to know where you need to be and know what you need to do to get there, is extremely important in our business. Whether it's, in your sense, putting the system together properly to do more than perhaps more than what the storyboards say it should do creatively, or more than of what the drawings say it needs to be to get the point across. Mm-hmm. That has a certain amount of creativity, certainly, in terms of design and building it. But I think you bring a sense of timing and good taste to it. And I don't want you to sell yourself short on that.
Well, I mean, think about what you do. It's the same sort of, I think it's the same sort of thing. As you're watching a panel of individuals, and you're looking for small communications, you're looking for nonverbal communication to clue you into what's about to happen with an interaction, or
well, it's the same thing that Tony was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Movement. He can through their movement and their actions, he can knows which way they're going to go, left, right, forward, back.
Predict, right?
Yeah, and I have to predict the same thing. Go back in time. Would you change anything? There was that moment that you got the job with show
Show department.
Show department. And then moving on to doing things for yourself. Would you change anything if you look back now?
I don't feel that I would change anything. I feel like I have made choices along the way based on opportunities that were presented to me, and I feel like I made the right choices there. I say we all could use a little bit more R&R, but you know, if I was to talk to someone just coming into the business, I would tell them to strive, although it's difficult to achieve, for balance as far as taking care of yourself and getting the proper diet, rest, exercise while being in this business. And that is the one thing that I wish I was able to do more of, is take care of myself, because the day just gets eaten away, sitting in the dark, in the cold.
Oh, the cold. Last week was chillingly cold. Well, I think you have such a refreshing outlook on the business. And I so respect the fact that you want to take care of yourself, and you see that that's a future maintaining how you work and how well you work. And I respect it deeply, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.